Alright, my friends, as promised, it's time to dive into the second episode of the two-part release this week for the Bad Batch. Be sure to check out episode 7, The Clone Conspiracy, that Tom and I just dropped a couple days ago. Today, we're picking up right where we left off with episode 8, titled Truth and Consequences. The clones are hanging out on the ship, recuperating from their most recent skirmish on Kashyyyk, all looking slightly tired. We pan to Omega, and once again, she's meditating in similar fashion to how we left her in the previous episode. As the gonk droid slowly waddles up to her, I can't help but feel the nostalgia of R2 rumbling about while Luke meditated in the original trilogy. Echo approaches her and inquires about it, somewhat interested in her newfound ritual. Omega says that Gungi taught her, but it doesn't quite work the same. Echo replies, well, he's a Jedi. She says she realizes that, but she still enjoys it and invites Echo to give it a try. He reminds her that after his time being isolated and exploited on Skeko Minor, that it reminds him of a time in his life that he would just rather forget. But he once again reminds her the importance of the squad and how they saved him. The holoterminal pops up, and it's Captain Rex. He has a special request for them to meet him on Coruscant for a data extraction covert mission. Hesitant, the crew accepts, and we're back to the sprawling city of Coruscant. The Batch knows that this is an unsafe place to be for them right now. This is, after all, the new heart of the Empire. They reunite at the Martez sisters' old garage, and Rex introduces the Batch to Chuchi. As Rex shows them the assassin that took his own life, he briefs them on the uniquely odd nature of him. This clone has had his identifying number wiped, and even Tech was shocked by this, not even aware that this was possible. The Batch is baffled by all of this, and clearly shaken about what is going on. Something treacherous is afoot, and they're just trying to make sense of it all. Rex and Chuchi tell them about Camino and that Rampart is hiding what had transpired there. But the good news is Rampart's ship with the data log is on Coruscant being retrofitted, meaning that they're adding something to this ship. This is a nice subtle detail. The clones aren't the only thing undergoing the transitional phase. These Venators are being transformed into Star Destroyers. Omega offers to go with Chuchi to the Senate to check out the politics side of things. This is what I talk about when I mention the importance of good filler content when it comes to the rich lore and storytelling. Even though this is very subtle, we're seeing another element of Omega's experiences, providing her with such a wide array of character depth. She's gone from learning with Kaminoans to being thrust into battles with the Batch, fighting alongside and learning mindfulness from a Jedi, and now she's about to witness the political side of things. This is seamless character development that requires the viewer to be keen on their investment into the subtleties of the plot. They run into Rampart in the hallway of the Senate and exchange formalities, and Masamita looms behind once again, reminding Rampart that he better get his job done. Chuchi shows Omega the Senate chambers, and she's amazed by it. Chuchi explains to her that its purpose is how it represents all the beings in the galaxy. With naivete in her voice, she asks where the clones' representatives are, and sadly learns that they are merely assets and not viewed in that manner. In the next scene, Senator Chuchi and Omega meet with Bail Organa to fill him in on what has transpired. Senator Organa sets up a meeting with Senator Bertoni from Camino, as he feels she might be a great asset in getting someone to testify on behalf of what happened to Topoka City. She's trying to find what happened to the funds dedicated to the cloning program for over a year and where they were diverted since they were no longer being used there. Senator Bertoni, trying to look after herself, says that she knew there was mischief, but she no longer saw it worthwhile or safe to question where that money was. But Omega pleads with her and asks how she can just sit idly by after what the Empire did to our home. She finally caves and says that Rampart is merely a pawn, as I suspected all along, and there's a much larger game at play. She says he is merely but a cog in the machine. Chuchi wants her to testify while the Batch secures the data. Together, it might be enough to show evidence for the Senate and to see Rampart's treachery. Meanwhile, the clones stealthily board the Venator, and it's bittersweet to see the halls of this cool ship once again. Echo and Rex share a heart-to-heart about the state of the clones and where their new place in the Empire is, in a subtle nod to the whole core of Star Wars, and especially Leia. Rex says hope is hard to come by these days. They engage in a risky battle with the defending clones, but they manage to get the data and escape the ship. Meanwhile, as the Senate is about to oust Chuchi, the data arrives and she reveals the evidence of Rampart's orders. There is outcry in the Senate, and Rampart now finds himself in a precarious situation. He must somehow explain what has just happened. After the evidence is displayed, a sound rings out, and at the bottom of the Senate chamber, the hatch opens as Palpatine emerges and ascends to the center of the chambers. I don't know about you, but I immediately felt the room go cold. If there's one thing the Clone Wars has done right, it's Palpatine. The man is scary as hell, and the atmosphere changes quickly anytime that he is present. Part of the reason that this appearance was so poignant is because this is actually Ian McDiarmid lending his voice again. It's just bloody freaking brilliant, and his presence as Palpatine is exquisitely unnerving. To further this, Palpatine once again proves that there is almost nothing he cannot adapt to. Well, except for frying himself with his own lightning all the time, but I digress. What I'm referring to here is his ability to always be a step ahead of what is happening. Even the clones acknowledge this later in the episode. Willing to sacrifice Rampart without hesitation, he lets Rampart take the fall for the destruction of Kamino, and he uses this to bolster the notion that the clones were also complicit, thus concluding that they can no longer be trusted. And this means only one thing: it's time for the Imperial Stormtrooper to replace them. There you have it, an answer to the question of what happened to the clones and why they aren't stormtroopers. This was clearly Palpatine's plan all along. Hate the guy for his evil nature, but he is a mastermind on a whole other level. With their mission once again being both a success and a failure, the batch is departing Coruscant, and Omega is caught off guard while the batch say some specific farewells to Echo. She learns that he's joining Rex, as he feels he owes it to him and the others to join the fight on that front. She embraces him and, holding back tears, wishes him luck. He's taught her a lot, and Echo's growth as an individual character has just been magnificent. Roll credits. Alright, my young Padawans, seriously, can this show get any better? For those of you that have felt like the last few episodes might have been filler, I'm glad that it all led up to such a mid-season crisp and seamless story arc. I mean, just wow. The writing in this show has been exceptional, and the cadence of the story has simply just been so engaging. I knew that the subplot to the main narrative was going to be good, and I really didn't think that it would lead into such a great explanation of how the Empire slowly and meticulously became what we know it as. The buildup of the looming corruption, the twists and turns, the political chess game, the assassin, the daring infiltration of a capital ship, the reemergence of a fan favorite in Captain Rex, the revelation of how the stormtroopers came to be, and as always, the frightening presence of the Emperor. I simply cannot say enough for this show, and every week I'm just more and more immersed and invested in this story. I know I mentioned in the last video that I'm getting the same vibes that Andor gave me, and you know what? I'm just gonna say that I'm obviously right about that. The way that these blocks have been placed is truly preparing me for an exceptional back half of the season, and I'm so excited to continue taking this journey with you all. Once again, I thank you for tuning in, and if you like this content and a few of the other things that Tom and I are doing on this channel, please help us out by subscribing and giving us a like. We find so much joy in being able to share our love of Star Wars in any capacity with you. And be sure to catch our live shows on Mondays at 11. Also, be sure to stop by our game-centric channel at BadCuzDad. We'll see you next time, you beautiful scruffy nerf herders.